Hey guys, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Jessica and I am 27 years old. As you can probably tell by the title of this video, I've chosen to come on here and talk a little bit about my journey with my diagnosis of endometriosis. It took a while for me to decide that I wanted to make a video about it and actually speak about my diagnosis and what the journey's been like and what the future may look like. I still don't really have a picture of that yet, but I think spreading awareness about it is the best thing that I can do right now. I was recently diagnosed with stage 4 endometriosis, adenomyosis, and thoracic endometriosis. So the endometriosis has spread from my uterus, ovaries, and fallopian tubes. It's spread recently. I was told it has spread to my rectal wall, so my bowels, and also it has spread to my lungs, my diaphragm area. So that's thoracic endometriosis. So again, my uterus, my ovaries, and my fallopian tubes, they're all fused together. So right now they're all one. And my adenomyosis, that's when endometriosis actually grows into the muscular wall. So that's not curable or treatable, unfortunately. Endometriosis is treatable by surgery. So when I do have my surgery, they will go in and remove the endometriosis that they can, both from my uterus area as well as the thoracic endo on my diaphragm. I'll need a thoracic surgeon for that, and then an endo specialist for everything else. It's been quite a shock. I had zero idea that it could spread to anywhere other than my lady parts, to be honest with you. So the fact that it's made its way through my body and is causing complications with my breathing and chest pain and shoulder pain, I honestly thought I was having a heart attack when I first had those symptoms, because the chest pain was so bad. I couldn't even stand up, and I was like, oh my god, I'm having a heart attack. Like, I'm only, how old was I at the time that I went to the emergency for that? I want to say I was like 25, and I thought I was having a heart attack or an anxiety attack or something, and they did a chest x-ray and said, no, you're good, but maybe check in with your doctor, maybe you have anxiety, and check in that way. I have been going to emergency departments for endo since like 2013, spending nights in hospitals, many cyst ruptures, and no one paid attention at all. They were just like, honey, like, you're a woman, you're gonna have a period and you're gonna have these things. Even times that I wasn't on my menstrual cycle when going to the hospital, they were like, you're a woman, like, these things happen. And I'm like, I don't think I'm supposed to pass out on my living room floor from pain. Like, I don't actually think that that's normal. And if you say it is, maybe I'm the dumb one, I'm not sure, but I don't think that that's normal. So I was very persistent. I saw many gynecologists, and to which one said, I think you're overreacting and to go on birth control. And at the time, I did think I was overreacting because I'm like, this is a doctor telling me, this is a specialist, this is a gynecologist. Maybe I am overreacting. And so I didn't go on birth control because I get really bad migraines. So I said, you know what, I'm going to have to take Advils and suck it up and keep going. So I did that. I was like, this is not the first gynecologist I've seen. This is not the second. This is not the third. So maybe it is me. So just kept trekking along. And then it was 2 months after my most recent gynecologist visit. So in June of 2021, I had a massive cyst rupture, which put me in the hospital for a night. And this amazing doctor in the morning, after staying there for the night, came in and said to me, your scans are back. And she said, we can tell that you've had a cyst rupture and you have another one on your left ovary that's quite large. At the time, it was the size of a pool ball. And she was like, please do follow-ups, like do ultrasounds, like, go to your doctor. And she told me to really push. So I did. I think I had 10 ultrasounds in the span of like 2 months, and they just kept saying, we're going to monitor it. We're going to monitor it. We're going to monitor it. And I'm like, is there not something wrong? Like, why do I even have this? Are you going to look into it? So after asking those questions, I was then sent to an OBGYN. who basically like kind of brushed me off, said that I might have endometriosis, but really didn't care that much. And I said, well, is there anybody who, specializes in this? Like, can I go see someone? And she basically just sent me on my way. So I was like, I'm going to research this. Like, you're saying I might have endometriosis, but, she did an internal exam and said, normally I can feel deep infiltrating endometriosis and, everything looks and feels great. So I don't think you actually have that. And I said, okay, but I'm still going to research a specialist for this. So I watched panel conversations about endometriosis and really researched the symptoms. And I was like, you know what? Something's telling me to see this specialist. I'm going to do it. So I called the OBGYN and she said, okay, like, I will refer you to this doctor if that's what you want. I was like, yes, that is what I want, please. And she's like, okay, I don't think you need it, but whatever, put the paperwork in. And I had an endometriosis mapping scan, I want to say like 3 weeks later, because they said in order to be able to see the specialist, you had to be confirmed endo. And if it was bad enough, it would show in a scan. And if not, I wouldn't be able to see a specialist. So I was like, I'm going to take my chances. It's a 50-50 chance here. Let's see if I even have it. So I went to the hospital downtown and I was there for 2 hours. And that's when the doctor told me everything was completely stuck together, and that I had it really bad and that it was deep infiltrating endometriosis as well as adenomyosis, which again is not curable or treatable. So that was a lot to take in, and I felt so let down, I think, by our healthcare system and kind of how they made me feel. And if it had been caught sooner, would it even be that bad? Would it be in my muscular walls? Would it be fusing things together in my body? Like the what ifs, I guess. And from there, I spoke to the actual specialist, and we went over the history. He said, tell me the history of Jessica. Tell me, exactly what happens, exactly how you feel, how long you've been feeling this. And we went over my medical history. And then I told him, I was like, I almost feel like pressure in my right shoulder on my menstrual times as well. And he was like, wait a minute, right shoulder pain. What comes with that? Does anything else come with that? And I said, yeah. I said, most of the time I also get sharp chest pain when I do have that shoulder pain. And he kind of went silent. And then he was like, we need to bring you in. We need to bring you in for an MRI. It sounds like you have thoracic endometriosis. And I was like, well, what is that? And he was like, that's when it spreads and it grows on your diaphragm. And I was like, well, okay, like, is that serious? He's like, it's pretty rare. It can cause, hard time breathing, chest pains, collapsed lungs. And I was like, wait a minute. They don't teach you this in health class, in high school or in middle school. And it was quite a shock, to be honest. And I said, okay. And I went in for the MRI. And that's when they do a diaphragm MRI, and then they did another abdominal area and things like that. And that's when they diagnosed me as well with having it on my rectal wall. So, right now, the healthcare system is almost ass backwards, and I could be waiting 2, 3, 4 years for surgery that I need in order to have a proper quality of life. To be able to possibly successfully have children. And I'm having a full hysterectomy at 35 because adenomyosis is not curable or treatable. And the pain that I'll experience with adeno is still similar to endo. So because it's in those walls, he wants to take everything out. And again, if I'm waiting for surgery for 2, 3, 4 years, that's almost around the time he wants to do a hysterectomy. So what time frame do I have for children, if any? And the fertility clinics, I hate to say this because it's almost disgusting, they have no priority care for if you have health issues or anything like that, because in Canada you get 1 round free of IVF. The wait list is already full. So I was like, okay, great. So no priority, for people like myself or people with illnesses and things like that. And they said no. I would have to go to a private clinic, which is obviously very expensive. So right now I'm sitting here and I'm waiting for any sort of help, to be honest. I keep doing tests over and over and over, and I think the tests are such a vulnerable thing. You go in on your own. Oh, You go in on your own, and it's always very invasive. On last Monday, I went and had a catheter put in, as well as a tube in the rectal area. And when that happened, my body unfortunately shut down, and I fainted in the middle of the test and went extremely pale, and my lips went gray and things like that. So you never know what you're going in for when you get these tests either, and sometimes they're, internal cameras going inside, and you're sitting there for an hour to 2 hours, and it has been quite literally the biggest shock of my life this far, because we used to laugh all the time about, not laugh at my pain, but I remember one time I went to a trip for someone's wedding, my cousin's wedding, and I was in a wheelchair, and I was like, oh, it must have been the goat brownie I ate because my stomach is on fire, and I was laying in a bed basically screaming and crying and in a wheelchair the entire time. Well, now I look back and I'm like, all of these signs were there, but not one person paid attention. And when I called my doctor to talk about the diagnosis and everything and to ask some questions, he said, I didn't know endometriosis could grow on your lungs. And I was like, okay. The specialist knows that, but your own family doctors don't know that. And it's like, well, how are you supposed to tell me what I have, and how are you supposed to see these signs if you don't even know that it can grow there? And I'm like, women's health is so much more important than brushing it off. I guess to me it's been the biggest eye-opener and the longest journey I have ahead of me, I guess, with almost little to no answer on what the next step is. I'll be starting hypersensitivity courses for pain management because unfortunately my body just doesn't know how to respond to pain. So that's because of the catheter test when I fainted. It doesn't know how to respond to those things because I'm always I guess ready for the worst. I don't really know. So I go to do that, and then I'm doing pelvic floor therapy, and I'm seeing my specialist here and there, as well as just trying to manage living life, I guess. But if you think you may have endometriosis, or you get really bad cramps during your period and it's starting that way, get checked, because my symptoms have only increased as it's gone on. And now to date, I have IBS issues, abdominal pain, back pain, chest pain, shoulder pain, IBS symptoms. My thighs are constantly on fire all the time. It feels like I can't even walk sometimes. Brain fog, I'll just forget what I'm doing mid-sentence. And it's just the overall quality of life. You're just so anxious about when the next episode is going to be of intensified pain. And I have a massive endometrioma right now on my left ovary. And in my head, I'm like, I don't want to have another cyst rupture that puts me in the hospital. So I'm constantly my eyes constantly twitching whenever I feel the slightest bit of pain on the left side, because I know that endometrioma is sitting there like a ticking time bomb at any moment. So also, that's how I was kind of initially diagnosed as well. I had a CT scan that said that cyst was filled with blood. So they thought it was an endometrioma, a chocolate cyst. So that's how I was kind of referred to the OBGYN as well, because they said, whoa, hold on a minute. It's not just a regular fluid-filled cyst. It's filled with blood. So I guess I wanted to come on here and address the different things that I've seen and gone through over the last, I don't even know how long. It took almost 15 years to diagnose me, which is too long because, again, what probably started off as something small has now taken over my body completely and taken over my quality of life. So it's not something to joke around with. It almost feels debilitating. And with endo comes so many other things health-wise for women that you don't know about, right? And why would you search for answers when it starts off with just a period cramp? It seems normal. And now I regret not searching harder, even though I did on my part. I pushed and I asked and I went to hospital visits and, I complained all the time. But here I am, stage 4, just pushing through the journey. And I mean, I'll keep y'all updated, and hopefully I have something soon for surgery. But again, with the healthcare system and how bad it is right now, currently there's no light at the end of the tunnel. So we'll see.